Hello, I'm Nina Hossain. 20 years ago today, a black teenager was killed in London. Stephen Lawrence wasn't the first black teenage victim, he won't be the last. But this was a racist killing which even the Prime Minister says sparked a monumental change in British society. But is that change enough? 2 decades on, in a new poll for ITV London, 59% of minorities still think the Met is institutionally racist. From the memorial service held to mark the anniversary of Stephen's death, Ronke Phillips reports.
It was the case which exposed the many fractures in our society. Today, 20 years on, the memorial service to mark the racist murder of Stephen Lawrence brought those different sections together. The police, political leaders and the general public alongside Doreen Lawrence. Stephen's murder remains the most high-profile case in the history of the Met. The initial investigation so shambolic and marred by allegations of racism that it took 19 years to bring 2 of his killers to justice. In the inquiry that followed, the Metropolitan Police was branded institutionally racist. 20 years on, in an exclusive YouGov poll conducted for our programme and LBC Radio, we reflect on the past 2 decades and ask where we are today.
If you'd been asked whether you thought the police were still institutionally racist 20 years on from Stephen Lawrence as a black male living and working in London, what would you have said?
Yes, they are.
When we put the same question to the people we surveyed, it appears Londoners are split. 37% said yes, the Metropolitan Police is still institutionally racist. 34% said no, and 29% said don't know. When we broke down the same question along racial lines, 59% of black and minority ethnic people said yes, compared with just 28% of white people.
Well, it's a very serious issue and you don't want to trivialise it, and I think the Met would acknowledge that the Macpherson inquiry of nearly 20 years ago put us on trial, and we've been on probation ever since, and these figures are clearly a wake-up call. There's more to do.
We also asked whether the Met has successfully dealt with racism among its officers. 29% said it has, 35% said it hasn't, the remaining 36% didn't know. The force also acknowledges it's failed to recruit enough officers from BME communities and is nowhere near reflective of the city it polices.
I'm not happy, and you can't pretend you would be sitting here as a senior person leading a big organisation like the Met, where at the end of the day we're size of a small town. But we're recruiting 5,000 people into the Met over the next 2 years. So there's a real opportunity for us to try and reset the dial and make sure the Met reflects the diversity of London in every sense of the word.
Attitudes are more positive when asked if London is a less racist city than it was 20 years ago. 52% of our sample said it is. 13% said it was more racist, 20% said it was the same, and 15% said they didn't know. One area where concern about racism has re-emerged in recent years is football. After a series of high-profile incidents, we asked whether the game has dealt well or badly with racism. 46% said they dealt with the issue badly, 27% said they'd done well, and 26% didn't know. 2 decades on, the guest list at the memorial service is proof that community, race and police relations have improved. But as Doreen Lawrence herself told the congregation, there is still a long way to go.
I would like to end with some words from Nelson Mandela's book, Long Walk to Freedom. After climbing a great hill, one always finds that there are many more hills to climb.
Doreen Lawrence ending that report from Ronke Phillips. Damien Green is the Minister for Police and Criminal Justice. He joins me now. Thank you for joining us. What is your reaction, firstly, to this statistic that 59% of minority Londoners still think the Met is institutionally racist?
Well, as we just heard, I agree with the officer who said, yeah, that's a wake-up call because the Metropolitan Police has made huge strides over the past 20 years in the wake of the Macpherson report. Things have got better, but they're nothing like good enough. And I think that's reflected in your poll. It shows how much more work has to be done, not least in making the police themselves in London reflect better the communities and the city that they're policing.
Theresa May, effectively your boss, the Home Secretary, said today that there are officers that are still racist. People will be wondering why they aren't got rid of more easily. Why are they still in the force? Why is the Home Secretary saying that they still exist as individuals?
Well, she's saying that because we do come across incidents which are racist, and officers are disciplined for them. It would be great if we had a period of years where it just became entirely non-existent, but we haven't got there yet. We're doing a lot to make it happen at a national level. We're allowing people to enter the police force at different levels now, so you'll get different types of people coming in, maybe in mid-career to be inspectors or superintendents, not just having to join as constables. That, I think, will increase the pool of talent that the police can look at. And as you've already heard, the Met is recruiting 5,000 extra people, or 5,000 new people over the next 2 years, and that will give them a chance to work really hard at making the force more diverse.
On this issue of recruiting, we've got one of the effectively relatively new police commissioners in the country, Surrey's. He's reported to have dismissed diversity targets, saying Macpherson was suffering post-colonial guilt. How can attitudes within the force and how the force deals with people on London streets really change if that's the attitude of somebody who's meant to be looking after and managing the force and how it behaves?
Well, that's something said by the Police and Crime Commissioner in Surrey. So he's not looking after the Surrey force. He holds the Surrey force to account.
He's holding that force to account, and his attitude is that diversity targets do not matter.
Well, his attitude is not reflected at the higher levels of the Metropolitan Police or in the Mayor's Office for Policing in London. And it's not so much targets, it's actually making sure that you make progress in having a more diverse, more representative force. 20 years ago, the Met had about 2.5% of its officers from minority communities. It's now up to 10%, so that's an improvement, but it's nothing like good enough.
Minister Damian Green, thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen's death eventually catapulted the Met's failings into the headlines, but the constant test of relations between ethnic minorities and the police is the policy of stop and search. In 20 years, despite Macpherson, often young Londoners still fight the injustice of being stopped simply because of the colour of their skin. So much so, there's now an app to help people report their experiences. Ria Chatterjee has the details.
The friction is out here on the streets. The police say stop and searches allow them to tackle and prevent crime. Those targeted say they feel victimised.
It brings all types of emotions out. It's like anger sometimes because you're just trying to get on with your, just going about your daily duties.
I wasn't really sure what my rights were, and I always felt like actually this person has authority over me, and I just have to do what they say.
This free stop and search app allows people to log their experience. Information includes the officer's badge number, where it happened, and the overall experience.
Also using GPS, it tags where you are. So this data can all be used to kind of map out in the UK how different people felt, how they were treated, and then that data can then be used to hopefully do something positive.
The police can use stop and search powers for numerous reasons. They might suspect the person is carrying a weapon or drugs, or stop someone if there's been serious violence in the area. But they also have to follow strict protocol.
So the person who's been stopped and searched will be tense and emotional. So how can you make sure that they give a measured response when they're using the app to make sure that it's fair?
One key question we asked is how cooperative do you think you were during the stop and search? And I think that does give the opportunity for the person who's just been stopped and searched to take a step back and kind of look at the whole picture. But I think ultimately, like, if someone does have a really negative experience, they should feel free to be able to upload that experience. So it's only by capturing these kind of negative experiences that we're going to be able to say, okay, this isn't working, why isn't it working, how can we improve on it?
The Metropolitan Police welcome the app. Once more people start using it, the data can be analysed to address important issues such as whether ethnic minorities are targeted more than others. It's technological innovation feeding into social change. Ria Chatterjee, ITV News, Tulse Hill.
I'm joined now by Superintendent Leroy Logan, who is the chair of the Met's Black Police Association. Thank you for coming in. On this issue of stop and search, is it an issue that's ever going to be resolved? People feel so strongly about it from either side.
Well, unless you actually change a lot of the attitudes of officers who do those critical encounters. In the Black Police Association Charitable Trust, which I'm the chair of, we have a leadership programme where we actually help young people to know their rights and responsibilities. And I do the trust and confidence module. And they actually say, even when they say, listen, I know my rights, please treat me with respect and dignity, there are some officers who dismiss that. And until supervisors and leaders in the organisation hold those rogue officers to account, you will always get that vexed issue around stop and search, road checks under Section 60 and various other things. And also, I think there needs to be real rigour by superintendents, similar rank to myself, on boroughs, who actually will ensure that those officers who are complained against are developed. If they don't get developed, they're sanctioned, and making sure that it's widely known, because once you start to get a grip of those rogue officers, things do fall in line. I've seen that when I was in Hackney as the Deputy Borough Commander, and I know my other colleagues can do the same.
How many years or even decades do you think it will be before an organisation like yours doesn't even need to exist?
Well, when we started the BPA, actually our founder member meeting was in April 1993, 20 years this month. And we actually gave ourselves a 10-year shelf life, and here we are 20 years later.
That's depressing, isn't it?
Well, it is, but I think the cost for equality is constant vigilance, challenge and action. And we need to be holding the organisation to account. And obviously, we need to support the Lawrence family, and Doreen and Stuart, who did an amazing service today, and reminded us all of the importance to monitor race and equality performance indicators.
Do you think, sorry to interrupt you there, do you think the rogue officers understand that the perception of the Met as being racist, or individual officers being racist, actually can stop the fight against crime, because you need help from within communities?
Well, again, it's around reminding officers, when you treat people with respect and dignity, you're more likely to get their support and backing if you have to investigate a crime or any sort of law enforcement or preventative work. So it makes it actually working smarter and not just harder. And I think when we had the governmental control of the Stephen Lawrence steering group, they used to be chaired by the Home Secretary. Unfortunately, Charles Clarke got rid of it. And so you don't have that ministerial drive to hold chief constables to account. And that's why I suppose Surrey Chief Constable can say something as silly as, well, actually, it's post-colonial guilt. I think that chief constable needs to be held to account.
It was, I must say, it was the police commissioner, the police crime commissioner.
Oh, PCC.
Well,
if that's the case, then, you know, that PCC really needs to look very carefully at those sort of things, because, as I said, it needs to be monitored. It's got to be held to, people have to be held to account, because that's all about trust and confidence, which is the cornerstone of police legitimacy.
Leroy Logan, I've run out of time, I'm afraid, but thank you very much for coming to talk to me. Thank you. And you can see what Londoners think about the Met and racism online. The full breakdown of our poll results is on our website at itv.com/London. Well, on the day of Stephen